Hello. I wanted to tell you about jury duty. If you have not done it before, I was called up one time before, way back when I was away at college. And so I was able to defer, but that means I never got the chance to actually do jury duty. So this time I got the chance to do jury duty. The unfortunate part is that this is the last week of my current job, and next week starts my new job. So I'm a little stressed because it's, because I feel like I should be at my old job, my current job, but I can't because it's jury duty. So here's the thing. If you get a jury duty summons, you need to show up, you need to call, you need to do whatever they tell you on the summons. And apparently if you don't, you can get arrested or a ticket or something bad. Something bad can happen. They say it's your civic duty. So you can't ignore a jury duty summons. So mine came in a paper, it had a barcode, had some numbers, and I had to call the phone number or go online. And so I chose to go online because I like computers like that. And there was like just a little quick survey, like, are you a citizen? What county and city do you reside in, just to make sure. So mine was for Macomb County, so they want to make sure that I still live in Macomb County and like I haven't moved to Florida or whatever. And you put in your juror number, and on the summons it tells you what time you're supposed to appear. So for me it was Monday at 8:15 at the Courthouse in Mount Clemens on Main Street. They give you the address and all that stuff too. So if you get summoned to the courthouse on Main Street in Macomb County, there's a parking structure that you can park in. It's $1 per hour. A lot of the meters are 50 cents per hour or $1 per hour, it just depends. They have some parking structures some other parking structures you can go to, and they have some lots, and they say they have some on-street, like residential parking as well. Parking is not great, but you have to show up by 8:15. So I got there a little bit early and parked in the structure, and then I had to walk. It was the Macomb County Municipal Parking Structure, and I had to walk 2 doors down to the courthouse itself and go through security. And so I have a CPL, and it needed to be renewed. So I had removed my weapon and magazines from my purse. I brought books, I brought things to do. You can bring snacks, you can bring water, you can bring coffee, you can bring all that kind of stuff. You could bring knitting or crocheting or whatever. But when I arrived at security, I put my purse through the machine, and they said, "Ma'am, do you have a magazine in your purse?" And I was thinking, I don't think so, because I'm trying to think what I brought with me. And I was like, I don't think so. He says, "Are you sure about that? Because it looks like you do, and it's like right on top of your notebook here." I was like, let me check. I said, oh, that kind of magazine, yes. So they were very friendly about it, very pleasant. And I said, can you hang on to it for me? And they said yes, they could do that. And they put it in a little secure box. And I got that back at the end of the day, and I remembered not to do that again. And they said, it says on the instructions, like, don't bring weapons, don't bring anything that could be used as a weapon. So I had always been carrying like a multi-tool with me, because you never know when you need to be MacGyver. So I at least had brought that out, but I hadn't even thought about this part. Anyway, so you go through security, and in the Macomb County Courthouse, there's a big jury waiting room, big. And it's a lot like going to an airport, where the seats are in rows or along the edges. They have some big comfy seats. They do have big tabletop strips with plug-ins. So if you want to bring your laptop or something to do work, you can do that. If you wanted to charge your phone, you could do that. They have a vending machine with beverages, I think like soda and water. I mean pop and water, because we say pop in Michigan. And they have like snack machines. They do have a cafeteria, I guess, in the basement. I did not go down there, but that has lunch items and things like that. And also for lunch, they do have restaurants with, I mean, just within a couple minute walk from the courthouse, like a Coney Island or like a grill. There's a BW's, and you can go get lunch too. They give you like an hour for lunch, usually about 12 o'clock. You just can't drink. That's the only thing you can't do. So you can eat, but you can't have an alcoholic beverage. So don't expect that you'd be able to do that. So you sit in the waiting room. When you check in, you tell them your number, or they scan a barcode or something like that to tell you that you're here, and you get a badge, and it will just say, like juror on it, which is backward. And it'll be like red like this, and we say juror, and you go and sit down and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. So what happens with, at least my experience with Macomb County jury selection, is they have a number of cases that are going to be heard in front of the judge every day. Okay, this is on Monday, so let's say just Monday. So they have several cases on Monday that would be heard by a judge, and the parties have the opportunity to settle out of court. So as the parties arrive for their court date and their court time, they can come to terms with each other and settle and not have a jury trial. But if they decide they want to have a jury trial, then they have to have a certain amount of people to be able to actually do the trial. So, and they play like they play a couple orientation videos for you, and they're all very friendly. At least at the Macomb County Courthouse, I've noticed they're all very friendly. They at some point they started drawing numbers. We were supposed to look at our sheet, our jury summons sheet. There was a certain 3-digit number that we were supposed to wait to hear if we got called. They drew a large batch of people of numbers. I think it was either 40 or 50 people at a time. I mean, it was a large number. There were hundreds of people in this jury room. So potential jurors, hundreds. And they, at least for Macomb County, probably for the state of Michigan, they only require 1 day service. It used to be that it was 2 weeks. It used to be it was like 6 weeks or something ridiculous, or a month. But they only require 1 day that you show up to potentially be called as a juror. And you're only required to do it 1 time per year. So when I get done, I'll get a sheet that says I did it. And even if you show up for the jury duty, you'll get a sheet when you're done at the end of the day that says you showed up, and then you're not to be called again for at least another year. So if they call you up within a year, you don't have to go. You show them the letter and says, hey, I've already been there. So that's an important letter to hang on to, or scan or something. So they call all these numbers. The people go up to the front, and then they do like a roll call of all the different numbers, and they're not in order. So it's not like 002, 007, 210, 364. It's not like that. You got to pay close attention. And Chesterfield is closed. Chesterfield Road is closed. So then once everybody has done their roll call, they know they have everyone that they need. Then they tell them what courtroom to go to, what judge they'll be going with, and things like that. So for me, there were 2 of those sessions where my number did not get called, and it was probably about 11 o'clock, 11:15 maybe. And they came in the announcement and they said, okay, we're going to call numbers, and in this group, if your number gets called, you get to go home. We're not going to need you. So they called that group of numbers. Those people went home, and then there weren't a whole lot of people left, just enough for another group. And that's what they said. They said whoever's left, because they were like, well, we're not sure yet. We only have 1 case left that may or may not go to trial. So stand by. About 10-15 minutes later, they said, yes, everyone who's left here, you're going to go in a group, come on up, and we'll do the roll call. So we did the roll call, And like I said, I've never done this before, and I've never been to the courthouse, so I had no idea what to expect. I was kind of thinking it was like, going to like Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory, like going to his chocolate factory. You never knew what was around the corner. You just didn't know because you weren't familiar with it, which is okay. I'm okay with learning things. So we all get called. We go to the 3rd floor. We're under a certain judge. We go into the courtroom, and the courtroom has, like, for the gallery, not galley, that's a ship. But for the gallery, the courtroom has these wooden seats. They're like church pews, but they're more rounded, like a curved shape. And it kind of smells nice in there. It smells like, almost like sweet incense. I don't know how else to say it, but it's not unpleasant. So we're all in there, and then they start calling numbers again. They go over instructions and things like that, and I think they swore us all in as a group. And then I think it was like, might have been lunchtime. No, they gave the instructions, and then it was lunchtime. And then we came back in, filed into that courtroom again. And then they started the jury selection. And what they would say is, they would say, juror number 002 to seat 1, please. And they would go to seat 1. Jury number 246 to seat 2. Until they had 14 people in the potential jury box. Then, I think it was then the judge asked each one of them the same questions. How long have you lived in Macomb County? Are you married? Do you have children? What do you do for a living? Who do you work for? Have you ever been involved in some kind of, like, litigation? I can't remember how he said it, but some kind of issue. What else? Oh, do you have any kind of health conditions that would stop you from sitting for several days on a jury? And some people were excused because they and he would ask too, is there any particular reason why you can't fulfill your jury duty obligation or jury duty? And when he was talking about, like, listen, if you've got like 5 kids under 5 at home and no one to watch them, or there was somebody who was going on vacation Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, or somebody who's going to drive to Grand Rapids for a wedding rehearsal dinner and they were leaving like Friday in the afternoon. So things like that they couldn't do. And they wanted to know, the judge also asked each person, because he did all the questions for each person. He also asked if we had any friends or family that are in law enforcement. And then he would ask, like, where do they work, what do they do, those kinds of things. So as he's asking the questions, if somebody, like, disqualified, or I forgot what they called it, but like they weren't going to sit on the jury, then then they would call another number and have them come up to the empty seat and run through the questions with them. So that happens many times. Several people were disqualified. Either maybe they had a criminal record, or like I said, they were going on vacation, or they had other issues where they couldn't serve. So that happened quite a bit. And then once there were 14 people, and of course I'm number 6, yay. And it's funny because it was the first time I had heard my number actually called, and I'm sitting in the back row. And I'm just like, under my breath, I'm like, Jesus. I was like, oh my, because I was like startled. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my number. So I had to go up and replace somebody else that had not qualified. And I was number 6. I already said that. And what about it, Tam? What about it? It's number 6. Oh, so once he had 14 people for the jury box, then in the prosecuting attorney came and spoke to us, asked us questions, pointed questions, just to kind of judge and get a gauge for how we were going to think about things. I'm not sure exactly. And the defense attorney got to do the same thing. And then sometimes the judge would say, okay, do we agree this person can be like excused? And usually both attorneys said, yes, that's fine. And then the attorneys were allowed to disqualify people, like for cause is what they called it, for cause, which was like there was something maybe in their past, maybe they had a criminal record, maybe like their whole family was in law enforcement. There was one person, I think it was a newly retired law enforcement officer who like already knew the judge, knew all of the law enforcement officers involved in the case, knew the defendant. I mean, so obviously he was excused. So they both were allowed to do it for cause, and then they have a certain number of what they call peremptory, they just for no reason, just because, and those people could be excused. And so they had the 12 or the 14, and they said, oh, we have our jury. I was like, oh, here we go. Because I've never done it. I don't know what to expect. This is all new for me. So we turned in our juror badges, just plain juror badges, and we got these fancy seated juror badges. Woohoo! And there's a room off to the side, like a door opens off the courtroom, and that's where we all go when they take a break or they want to discuss something without us hearing it. I don't know why they do that. They just do. And the little room has like a giant conference table. We all can sit around. They're comfy chairs, but don't push all the way back because you'll fall. And there's a couple bathrooms like right there within the room. And then as you leave the room, the juror room, and like right before the courtroom, there's actually a drinking. It's a fountain, but it's like the kind that where you fill your water bottle like you would at the airport. So you can get drinks there too. And again, you can have snacks, you can have liquids. There were a couple diabetics. They were allowed to do their snacks whenever they needed to. If you need to go to the bathroom, you just raise your hand, and the bailiff, I can't remember if that's what his title was, deputy, he would escort us out to the juror room. He'd escort us into the courtroom, and we all had to sit in the same seats as what we were called. So I am currently number 6, and I will always be number 6 until we're done. They said for sure it would be today, Wednesday, and then tomorrow, Thursday, and then they might go into Friday, but they weren't positive. I think it depends on how many witnesses they have to interview, how much evidence to go over, and then how long it takes the jury to deliberate and come to agreement. So in the orientation, we were told that your deliberation that we would go, we could be polled for our answers. And I was a little concerned because I was like, wait a minute, what if like everyone said yes and I said no, or everyone said no and I said yes? But the thing that I learned is that all the jurors had to agree. Everyone has to agree. And that's what can take trials a little bit longer, is that every juror has to come to the same conclusion. And they may not resist, but they may not agree for several days or until they get other evidence or, input from the other jurors. But everyone has to agree. And if they don't agree, then that might be called a hung jury. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. So I was relieved about that. So we all have to be in agreement, and that's cool. Because I tend to be a dissenter, and I don't want to do that. So today we showed up, parked, made our way in. I did not bring any weapons of any kind, and went up to the juror room, and we listened to opening arguments. We listened to some witnesses, saw some evidence that I did not want to see and I never want to see again. And then we'll go back tomorrow. And I think we listened to some more witnesses and evidence. And then I think we go and deliberate. Deliberate. Yeah, deliberate. We go to the room and all decide. We come to some kind of agreement. And when we recess, when we take a break or whatever and go in the juror room, we're not supposed to talk about the case at all. Not until the end. Not until they tell us to deliberate what our verdict might be or our recommended verdict. I don't even know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if like the judge can overturn it or not. If you know, tell me in the comments, because I don't know. And it was all new to me. In my brain, if there's something new, I mean, it's a little something new, I can do it in like little pieces. But like all new, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. I get really nervous about it. So what will happen at the end, though, they have 14, there's 14 of us jurors. There were 14 in the box. So I think what they told us is either right before we go into deliberation or after we do deliberation and before we do the verdict, they draw lots and 2 of us get kicked off the island. So there's only 12. Oh, that's why they like overshoot. They do 14, and then if they need to, they can come in and take, if somebody gets sick or something, then they've got like backups. So toward the end, they're going to draw lots, and 2 of us will get kicked off the island. But I mean, it's a good group. They're all friendly. We joke a lot. We were talking about gardens today, and kids and grandkids and life in general. And we go to lunch together, different groups of us go different. I've been with a couple different groups so far, and everybody's friendly, and we already got over the whining about, oh, do we really have to be here, or missing work, or there was one lady, she did not get selected, good for her, who was just starting at a hospital, and this was supposed to be her orientation week, so she's kind of bummed about that. So, different things come up, and the judge was funny because somebody said for a reason that they weren't going to be able to do it is that they have to go to work tomorrow. And the judge kind of looked at the person and kind of gave a smile and said, listen, if they're going to give you grief about it, you have them call me and I will talk to them. Because your employer has to allow you to do jury duty. They can't not allow you to do jury duty if you are not traveling or, whatever. So that's it so far. I don't know what else is going on. Oh, and when we're supposed to be wearing our badges as we come in, and then all throughout the courthouse, and then as we leave. And apparently no one's supposed to talk to us if we're wearing this at all. Like, no, the judge, the attorneys, the defendants, the prosecutors, the security guy, except our guy, what was he called? I'm just going to call him Deputy. Deputy Mr. Nice. He's very, very pleasant. So the defense attorney had said in the very beginning, he's like, okay, so I'm going to have a conversation with you. This is the only time we can actually have a conversation. And after that, I can't talk to you. No one can talk to you. And I was told too that if you are wearing your badge, like you can't even ask people for like the best place to park or the best place to eat or anything like that. They cannot talk to you at all when you're wearing your badge. And if you go into the restaurant, you're supposed to wear your badge in the restaurant as well. So a lot of places will actually give you discounts if you're wearing your juror badge. And again, you can't drink. The deputy had told us that they had a group several years ago that had gone out to like the bar, and they're all sitting around a table drinking. And I was like, and it was lunchtime, and I was like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. So that's what jury duty is about so far. If you get called up, go ahead and do it. There's not a lot of pay. It's enough probably to cover your parking. But think ahead about how you're going to get there and where to go. Get your directions. Know where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to dress up a little bit. No, it said no t-shirts and I don't know, some kind of dress code. So check your dress code. And a lot of times it was cool in the courtroom, or cool in the hallways while we're waiting, or cool in the waiting room. So you might want to dress in layers, you know, like you would, or taking a certification exam or something like that. So yeah, so that's what I got so far for jury duty. And for sure I've got another day tomorrow, and I might have one on Friday, and we shall see. So just figured I'd share that with you guys in case you had never done jury duty, or if you hadn't done it in Macomb County. And they let you bring in books, and they let you bring in reading materials, and you can have your phone, and you can bring your phone into the courtroom, just turn it on silent. You can, people bring in laptops, people bring in tablets. You know, as long as you're not interfering with like the legal process, they're good about allowing all these things. They know, maybe there's some work stuff you just can't miss. So if you bring your laptop or your tablet, or you're on your phone doing your work stuff, I mean, that way you're not totally missing out on work if you need to do that. So anyway, Tammy Lowell, Lace Northern Gardener, medical surgical coder, auditor, moving to a new job is like a team auditor next week, and hopefully installing some gardens starting tomorrow evening, I think. And I'll just show you a quick peek here. I got my waiting room. Whoops, here we go. Let's see. Here we go. There's my staging area. I have plants that need their homes, so I want to start planting very shortly so they can get in the ground while while the temperatures are still kind of cool. I know the next couple of days will be warm, but that's not going to last. It's still May. It's not going to last. So they need to get in their homes and start growing out their roots. Everything there is a perennial, or even like a spring bulb pot. So those will be just fine in the ground. They'd be much happier in the ground than in the pots. And I want to get them in there and start building these gardens. So anyway, signing off. I really am. I'm so tired now. I've got to lock the chickens up, and I got to close the greenhouse up, and put the plants inside, and then go to bed. But love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.